Okay, this is geometric mean. And these are the two proportions that you can use anytime you have geometric mean problems. And then I'm going to do two on your homework. I'm going to be doing number 10, and then I'm also going to be doing number 12. All right, here we go. The two proportions. The first one I'm going to do is going to be your altitude proportion. Doing that, it looks like this. I've got the altitude over the first leg I hit, leg 1. Whenever I say leg here, I'm talking about the fact that that altitude breaks that larger right triangle into two smaller ones. And I just do it like I'm reading the book. The first leg I hit, if I'm looking at one of the small ones, that goes there. The second leg that I hit is going to go in that position. And then the altitude again. Just because I'm using an altitude proportion may not mean that I'm actually finding an altitude. It may mean that I'm looking for maybe one of the legs. Okay? The next one I'm going to do in red, it is what we call big leg proportion. And the reason I call it that is because it involves the two big legs of the large right triangle. And for this, I just ignore that altitude and forget it's even there. This proportion looks like this. I've got the big leg in both positions. Here, again, since I'm focusing on the large right triangle, I've got the whole hypotenuse. And then up here, I've got where this side, that the leg that I'm dealing with, meets. And I'll explain this a little bit more in just a second. So looking at number 10 first. So looking at number 10, this is what I've got. You have to decide wherever it is my variables are, am I going to be using the altitude proportion or the big legs proportion to do my geometric mean? Well, looking at this problem, remember that if I'm doing the altitude, it involves either the altitude, this piece, or this leg. Now, if what you're needing to find doesn't involve one of these three pieces, then it's going to be a big leg situation. Looking at the big leg, it's this side and this side. Okay. Well, the first one I'm going to be looking for is at my x value. Well, it looks like it's involving one of the altitudes. So I'm going to be using my altitude proportion. Again, it looks like this. Altitude over that first leg I hit equals, in the leg, since I'm looking at these two small right triangles, I'm looking at this leg and this leg. Then leg 2 over altitude. Doing that out. What's sitting where the altitude is that x value. Then I've got one of the legs, the first one I come to is 7, the other one's 28. Cross multiply. X times x is x squared. Equals 7 times 28 is going to give you 196. Take the square root of both sides. I am going to use a decimal, and I'm going to round to the tenths place. So 196 is going to give you 14. And it turns out I didn't have to round, so I want to make sure I use an equal. Now, it looks like my y is sitting on one of those big legs. So that lets me know that in order to find y, I'm going to need to use the big leg portion. Well, doing it, I've got the big leg here. Oops, sorry. Then I've got where the sides meet. And then I've got the whole hypotenuse. Filling in those numbers. Well, where my big leg is, I believe that's y. My whole hypotenuse, 7 plus 28 is going to be 35. Again, I'm ignoring that altitude. It's like it's not even there. Equals where the sides meet. The big leg that I'm looking at, right here, it joins up with this little side that's 28. So I'm going to use that value. Doing that, now I need to use some cross multiplication. And I wind up with y squared equals 980. Take the square root. You wind up with this one. I don't think it's going to come out as pretty for us. You wind up with 31.3. All right, that's number 10 on your homework. I'm going to do one more. Okay. I'm going to be looking at number 12 on your homework. Let's see, it looks like, sorry, not number 12. I'm going to be looking at number 13. And let's see, if I'm going to be using, whoops, sorry, forgot. Now looking at this one, remember if I'm using altitude, one of my variables needs to be sitting here. Well, it's not. It looks like both of my variables are sitting where my big leg is. So the first one, using big leg twice. See, my big leg sitting right there is an x. Let's see, the entire whole hypotenuse is already given for me. It's 12. And then where x meets is right there at 3. Cross multiply. X times x is x squared. 12 times 3 is 36. Square root both sides. I think this one comes out pretty nice to a value of 6. Now, looking at y. Big leg again. Let's see. Sitting where my big leg is, that's a y. My whole hypotenuse is 12. Now this time, this side comes down and meets this side, but I don't see a number there. Well, I need to think about it for just a second. If this entire piece is 12 and this piece is 3, I think if I did 12 minus 3, I could get what this piece is. 12 minus 3 is going to give me 8. Minus 3 is going to give me 9. And that value needs to go right there. Cross multiplying, I get y squared equal to 9 times 12 is 108. Now if you do that, I don't think that one's going to come out so perfect for us. Rounding off to the 10th place, you should get 10.4. Look at what I've done, and then ask some questions tomorrow. Make sure, and I put this out an announcement on Emoto, 1 through 15, I kind of reduced this assignment is your assignment. Any additional problems you do after 15 is bonus.